Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hean, and welcome to the International Virtual Music Festival 2020. We are the first of several discussion forums that will take place these 3 days, and the topic for our discussion is the non-solo pianist. There are many of us who has gone on to train as pianists, and upon graduating, we find ourselves, doing more work not as a soloist, but in various forms of collaboration with others. So joining me today are 4 distinguished panelists who will share some of their experiences and thoughts with us. For our first panelist, we have got Jennifer Yun Xin from Singapore, who has had many years of experience as an accompanist with vocal soloists in recitals, gigs, and voice exams. Jennifer also accompanies choirs locally as well as internationally. Hello, Jennifer.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Mr.
Hello. And the second panelist is Jessica Leong from Singapore, who completed her master's degree in solo performance at the Royal Scottish Academy of Music and Drama and advanced accompaniment. She's now a freelance musician and does a lot of accompaniment work, especially in the Nanyang Academy of Fine Arts. Hello, Jessica.
Hello, Bang Hian.
Hello. And the third panelist is Carolyn Low from Kuala Lumpur, who graduated with a master's degree from Miami University, Ohio. She has played both as a soloist and a member in the orchestra, and collaborates with vocalists as well as instrumentalists extensively in concerts, music festivals, competitions, and auditions. Hello. And for our fourth panelist from Indonesia is Iswargia Renardi Sudarno, or popularly known as Landy, who completed his master's degree from Manhattan School of Music, New York. He also studied conducting whilst he was there, and upon returning to Indonesia, he co-founded the Jakarta Conservatory of Music. He's also a conductor of Jakarta Sinfonietta and the Jakarta Conservatory Chamber Orchestra. So, hello, Landy.
Hi, Bang Hian.
Hi. Now, to start off with, I'll just ask each of you to tell us a little bit about the sort of work you do. Shall we just start with Jennifer?
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Jennifer here. So like what Mr. Liu just mentioned, I'm very much involved playing with choirs. So I used to work with school choirs when I first came back. And then subsequently, I found like organizations such as HOS, which is a short form for Alleluia Oratorio Society, and where I am engaged as their pianist. So what we do is we have weekly rehearsals, and they have a smaller group, the singers, which I have some photo, which is on the next slide, right? So that's where I mostly work with these singers. And of course, in the group, right, you have different like voices. So you have the alto, soprano, tenor, basses, and some of them actually take exams, like the ABRSM exams and Trinity exams individually. So with that, I move on to accompany them for the voice examinations, for all these times. And also I do for instrumental exams as well, like for violin and for cello. And on top of that, I do conduct piano workshops with teachers who are interested to work with me to maybe teach about how do you become a better pianist, not just solo piano, but to work with young people, right? So I have students under me who are trying to do like duets, and then sometimes I collaborate with the string teachers. So sometimes we might do like workshops on teaching how do you actually accompany them, or let the students play on their own, right? Like to create some platforms for them. So that's what I'm much enjoying doing right now. Yeah, but because of COVID, not much happening. Many people try to do virtual. I'm not good at that. So I have only submitted one video myself for church. Yeah, because they need pianists. So yeah, other than that, not so much with singers. Yeah, so maybe when COVID is better, in Singapore, I think so far we're opening up, but it's just taking time to come together again. So with that, yeah, I would love to continue to work with people, especially singers. I'm not so much into instrumental playing, yeah, because I studied that mostly my master. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? With the COVID situation, I think every instrumentalist is very much more alone than before.
Right.
I mean, pianists are already pretty much alone a lot of the time. Anyway, let's move on to Jessica. Tell us a little bit about well, this photo.
Oh, this was during a saxophone symposium a few years back. Yeah, but where I was hired then. So I play accompaniment for full-time students in NAFA, their diploma and degree programs, primarily the strings. Also diploma and graded ABRAS-M and Trinity exams, some competitions, auditions, symposiums or concerts. So basically, I'm just a pianist for hire. That's all.
And there's another photo of you here with a violinist.
Yes, together with Mr. Fu Saiming, the renowned violinist in Singapore, we were invited to play in Penang for a recital quite a number of years ago.
Oh, so this was in Penang. Do you remember where it was?
I'm so sorry, age is catching up.
Sure. Okay. Yes. Anything else you want to tell us about what you are doing nowadays?
Basically, because of COVID, the situation that you mentioned just now, the exam requirements have changed tremendously, where students are required to send video submissions instead. So I'm quite busy right now with a lot of recordings.
Are you recording your students or are other teachers?
Yes, students. Yeah, students and also violin and cello students.
Okay, so as in you teach, you accompany them?
Yes, for the exams, recording.
Okay, yep. So you're very much a recording sessionist nowadays because of all this.
Yeah, quite busy.
Oh, well, it's good to be busy. Not everybody during the COVID can say that, I must say. Okay, let's move on to Carolyn and tell us about this photo.
Oh, hi everyone. Sorry, my mic was muted just now. So hello. Yeah. Well, this photo was taken, as you can see, 2007. That's like ages ago. Yeah, and I basically graduated about that time, and I was in Korea for a festival, and that's like members of the Prima Vista Quartet from Poland, and we were actually playing Mendelssohn's Trio in D minor. Yeah, so that was one of the performances that I did during that festival. Yeah.
Okay. And just tell us generally what is your work after having come back to Malaysia?
Okay, I teach at UCSI University and in the Institute of Music. I basically deal with undergrad students, and I teach their major applied instrument, which is piano, of course. And I also have a private studio, teaching studio, where I take in like mostly quite a number of teachers, like teaching them how to teach, as well as also to advance in their pianistic skills. And besides doing that, I also do chamber works, like, in ensemble. So before this, I also taught in UPM, and we did like ensemble classes where, you have different combinations involving the piano. So basically like piano duets, piano duos, trios, quartets, and stuff like that. And apart from performing, I did like some solo stuff also as part of the orchestra. When I came back not long, I actually did the tour with MPO when they went to East Malaysia. So I was in KK at some point playing with the MPO as a pianist, not as a soloist. Yeah, so, and then along the way, I also did some collaborations with different orchestras, being the soloist in a concerto performance, which is also in a way, yeah, it's solo, but not quite solo, because there's still a lot of, a collaboration between the solo part as well as the orchestra. And in terms of work, accompanying also, because I do enjoy collaborating with people, and I basically do instrumental as well as vocal. So, accompanying for concerts, festivals, auditions, and, with all this COVID and stuff coming on, there's a lot of things online. So, yeah, but So hopefully the situation gets better and we don't need to stay online.
But anyway, also piano duet. This is the photo we are seeing now. That's a piano duet.
Yeah, that was during a piano gala held in Kuala Lumpur, and that's my colleague, Miss Chi Suyen. So we were playing barber excursions. It's a very interesting set of pieces. Actually, yeah, it was actually written for solo, right? For duet, and then you actually do have the solo version as well. So it's pretty interesting to see how it's connected, both works for 4 hands as well as just 2 hands.
Yep. Yeah. And okay, that's me on the right.
This was a concert that we did to raise funds for Hospice Malaysia, and that's Mr. Lu, and he's actually my husband. So
okay,
yeah.
Disclaimer now. Yes, I'm interviewing my wife, so I need to be extra polite here.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's the main piece that we played during that concert was Butterfly Lovers. It was an arrangement, and we had a lot of fun. So playing piano is not just a very solitary thing. You can actually expand and do more with different types of combination.
Yes,
so
right.
this, yeah, sorry.
So you did some concertos as well, but you were saying how there's a lot of chamber music aspect in a concerto even.
Yeah, actually, I think when you play a solo piece, it is much easier because whatever happens, you just carry on. Nobody knows, or even if people know, you just pick yourself up and go on. But if you're going to collaborate with the orchestra, then that's a whole story altogether, because there will be like 90 or 100 old people waiting for that cue. And if you don't come in the right spot, that's the end. So I'm sure Landy will have something to talk about that later, because he's yes. So yeah, different. Yeah. So it is very interesting actually.
Yeah. All right. Let's move on. Yes, this is Landy now. Let's move on to Landy. That's you and your orchestra.
Yeah. Well, this is my concert with the Jakarta Sinfonietta. We have a regular season, but of course, now everything is off, so we have to wait until I don't know when we are going to start again. But we're doing lots of online concert. So yeah, it's make us busy, I guess. Well, I basically teach piano. I mean, I think probably I'm the oldest one here, so I graduated the first one. I was like more than 25 years ago, and I start with teaching piano and also giving concert. But then, since I get more involved in teaching, my students get more advanced, and then they get more also. I get much more good student, and I start to focus myself in teaching. Then I think I have to be honest that I have to leave the concert opportunity because it's just take too much time. But then I also actually an academic director of the Jakarta Conservatory of Music, so it's basically it's a lot actually.
Yes. So in the Jakarta Conservatory of Music, are the students primarily piano students, or are they playing all sorts of instruments?
We have string, we have wind, but not complete, only flute, and woodwind basically, and trumpet.
So the Jakarta Conservatory Chamber Orchestra is made up of students from the conservatory then?
No, there are two orchestras that I'm actually directing now. One is the Jakarta Conservatory Chamber Orchestra. That's the conservatory orchestra, which consists of pre-college students. They are all pre-college actually in the conservatory. Right. But this one is a professional orchestra, the Jakarta Sinfonietta.
All right. So the Jakarta Sinfonietta is also a professional orchestra,
yes.
A full orchestra with all the instruments.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. All right. So now we're talking generally, well, mainly about how, well, I think a lot of piano students, when they go overseas or go to a higher institution to train as a pianist, I suppose it's everybody's dream just to come out and to become a soloist. But of course, as we know, that's probably not realistic, and you do need to work a lot with other people. You do need to teach and so on. So what I want to ask each of you, or some of you anyway, is that during your studies, when you were in the university or conservatory or college and so on, what were the things that you found most useful now? Because there might be some things that is not immediately evident then, but now it becomes clear that it's actually very useful skills that you have picked up. So anyway, let's begin with, well, whoever. Jennifer, is there anything you want to tell the listeners about, what they should relish, what sort of skills, what sort of experiences?
Okay, so back then I was a student. Well, I didn't expect anything because I thought like, okay, I'm going to be a collaborative, right? Basically, I just need to play and then work with people. But then as I finished my first year, my teacher just gave me a remark saying, well, you all did well. You were playing your own score. She was singing her own score, but two of you sound different. Like each of you are doing different things. I'm like, what? Like, aren't we together? So after that, I came back to Singapore without practicing much. And when I went back again, then my teacher said, hey, actually, you improved over the summer holidays. I'm like, how can that be? So then I realized something, because 1 year when I was there, I was thrown into a lot of projects. So like doing for people's recital and then all that practicing. So I wasn't able to really digest the things until when I came back here. I think I listened to a lot of repertoires here and people asking me questions and all that. And then, of course, I also tried to work with people back in Singapore. And then I think as you mature, as you listen to more, I think the second year, the third year, you begin to realize actually collaborative piano is not easy at all. Not that you have to know your own things, but you have to understand like other languages in terms of singing. So all those nuances and different things, yeah, little detail. So the best takeoff from there is because I'm actually the only student left in my third year.
Oh, what happened to the rest? You killed them off.
Graduated, but I wanted to stay on for another year. And because it was a very small school with a small department, so I'm like the only one. So actually, I get to collaborate with my teacher. Like we play together on stage. That's great because I have never played with like a professional, and then also to work with other teachers on stage. And also there's this doctor. He is a full-time pianist in the school. He's amazing, right? So I always get to ask him questions and to see him play, and he will comment for me. All this advices and encouragement, and even like to talk about things, I think is a big takeoff for me when I came back.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, okay. So what about Carolyn? Tell us a little bit about your time in Miami and what was useful and what was not, if there's anything that's not.
Well, honestly, I think usually when we go for further studies, we always think like, oh, I need to score all my CGPA 4.0 and get all the string of A's and then come back and hoping that you get a very good career. Unfortunately, that does not guarantee it. So I think what I found most useful is the soft skills that you learn while you're studying, be it in the bachelor degree or in a master's degree or even a PhD or DMA. So I think what really helped to launch my career was the network that I did. Not just, in a certain uni or just at a certain institution, but throughout your studies, although we are just pianists, but, the instrument can be a little bit solitary. So, you can just lock yourself in a room and practice and be so good at your own skill. But at the end of the day, who's going to pay the bills? You can't just be, and especially with the pandemic right now, you can't go like, oh, I'm going to just, organize a live concert, solo concert, and I'm going to make that money that will last me the whole year. So having, collaborations with other people whom are your friends at the moment would be a big bonus for you when you all grow up together, and, they will also be your colleagues in time to come. And I think that also, during studies, you always have friends coming to you, like instrumentalists or vocal majors. They'll say like, can you be my accompanist? Can you help? So at that moment, you would think like, you know what, I would rather just use the time to practice my own stuff. But I didn't, because I'm a people person. I like to mix around and talk with people and stuff. So that's what I did. And at that point, I didn't think that, that I would reap the fruits right now, because it is basically, sowing the seeds. And after like 5-10 years, you realize that, hey, that Caesar Franck sonata, the violin sonata that took so long for me to like really butcher the whole piece. And now after 10 years, when people come and say, hey, I have, something and something just came up, can you just accompany me for the Caesar Franck? And you go like, yeah, sure. So, in 2 days, you get it all done. Why? It is actually basically preparation from before. And, it is when you're a student, you have the most time and freedom to do all this practice. When we all know right now in this position, we are like, full schedule, full teaching, full, everything's full. And then some of us are married, some of you have kids. So basically, the whole priority will be shifted. And while we are students, priority is just practicing piano, getting good results, and, making sure that you get top of the class or whatever. And with all the things that you prepare during then, it is not just for then. It's things that you take with you to the future. It's basically like investing lah. So you invest, and it's a delayed gratification that you get after 5 years, 10 years. So my advice to people who are students who are still studying right now, I think build your network. Okay, build your repertoire, build so that your database is big enough. If, let's say, for example, even like, concertos, you think that, you usually what happens, I don't know, where I teach in UCSI is that they have a concerto jury. So basically you have another student accompany, or the teacher would accompany the student. So if you have the time, go for it, do it, accompany. Why? Because if you are studying the orchestral part, you think that, this is not going to be useful for me because I'm not going to be the orchestra. But the thing is, if an orchestra suddenly has, a soloist who falls sick and say like, hey, can you stand in? And you basically need to know the solo part. But if you know the orchestra part, then it's going to be so much easier to just collaborate, and, things will just work out so much easier. So I think don't think in a smaller picture, plan bigger, so that you never know when you need these skills.
Yes, I mean, it doesn't seem like, I suppose if you ask a student, they say that they're so busy, there's no time for this and that. But all this, taking on all these things will bear fruit much later in the career. All right, now let's move on a little bit to Jessica. Now, what about both Jennifer and Carolyn was talking about what they learned when they were studying. Now, what if you have somebody who is just about to graduate and just about to come back and want to make a career for themselves back in Singapore or Malaysia or Indonesia? What would you say to them? Any particular advice? Of course, a lot of them will dream of just becoming the soloist or the great teacher or something. So what would you say to them?
Could you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
I think you need to build your reputation first by playing as much as you can, because your ability, your standard of playing, your willingness to work with people, your kindness, all this spread by the word of mouth. And you will accumulate your experience along the way too. Just like how I started 10 years back when I just graduated, I knew very, very little from the string repertoire. So I had to learn everything from scratch, like any Mozart concerto, any sonatas, everything. I had to learn the cuts. You need to learn where to to cut those tutti sections.
Oh yes.
And, yes, you have to basically come up with your own reduction, from an orchestral reduction, right?
Yeah,
you know what?
That's right.
Yeah.
I must say, talking about orchestral reductions, there are some terribly unplayable versions out there. I don't think they were arranged by pianists at all. They were arranged by some cruel conductor or something like that. So yes, go on.
So you have to rearrange your own reduction. Okay, so it's playable, and also like because my hands are very small, you know, so a lot of things don't work for me. So I need to work on that. Okay, so the first few years I really worked very hard, you know, learning everything from scratch. But right now, I am more relaxed now. So like what Carolyn just said, yeah, like you can just pick up the Franck sonata in 1 or 2 days. You know, yeah. So it's not a problem anymore, or any Brahms sonata. So yeah, so
yes. So
yeah.
basically, you are saying to the aspiring career musician to be open-minded and just take on as many things as you can. Well, while being able to handle it, of course.
Yes. Actually, my forte is still solo playing. I pretty much enjoy practicing, you know, because playing in ensemble, playing with the students, you don't get to express yourself so much, you know, because you are still taking care of their part, or make sure they know when to come in and all that. So I do keep up with my own solo playing very much, even I'm busy with students. Yeah.
Oh, great. All right, let's move on to Landy then. Well, you've got a lot of experience in training up students who's gone on to do competitions, to become career pianists, as well as those who want to come back to Indonesia and so on. So any advice for them?
Yeah, well, basically, I think we just have to build up our network, I think. Yeah, so we have to know more people. We have to work with more people. I mean, don't hesitate if one offers you a concert, which is maybe you don't feel very experienced. Like, I mean, maybe some student is not so experienced with chamber music, but it's also good to start. I think it's chamber music and song accompanying is also very important, because it's also important for the solo playing, I think. I mean, the ability to listen, the ability to balancing everything, it's really important. So yeah, I don't know. Yes.
I was just wondering, have you noticed any differences in some of the students, for example, that you heard in master classes or even in concertos, those students who play a lot of chamber music and those who just concentrate purely on solo work?
Oh yes, of course, it's very different. It's very different. I mean, normally the student who actually play chamber music and also accompanying, they are very sensitive, and it's very easy to coach them. I mean, to tell them to do this and that. But if you're just used to practice alone, then you know your ear is just so limited. It's just to yourself, so you don't open your ear. And especially in concerto, it's very nice for if one is actually really experienced in playing chamber music, because it's just like this. Yeah.
So yeah, it does make a difference, of course. It's just that I suppose a lot of students just dream of being a soloist, and it seems, I suppose, less glamorous to just accompany a singer. So some of them hesitate in doing things like that during their studies. But yes, I think we all do agree that this is extremely helpful, and it does mold one into a better musician.
Yeah, and I think also the thing is, if we learn solo piece, it's I mean, the composer does not only write. I mean, didn't only write for solo pieces. I mean, he has his song in mind, also his symphony in mind. So I think if you know much more repertoire than just solo pieces, it's really helped to understand the music, I think.
Yes, definitely. All right. Now there is a question. Well, for I think probably all of you can answer this. Somebody asked, does piano accompaniment help in improving one's sight reading? Who wants to answer this? Maybe Jennifer?
Oh yeah, definitely, because you sometimes have to like play the song within a few days because they might change the repertoire in the choir setting. So you got to sight read quick. So it does help. And other than that, how I learned it, sometimes I don't have much time, right? So listening helps. And then after that, you got to like, okay, quickly go to the piano and figure out the chords, progressions, and all those melody lines and entrances for the soloists or whatever. And sometimes, yeah, just going to make out of it on the spot, like your left hand just keep playing. But eyes keep moving. Yeah, so it helps.
Yes, I mean, I remember there had been some discussions with our colleagues about the importance of sight reading, or whether it is important or not, and in the curriculum, whether you should test them, whether you should emphasize them. So yeah, I think most people do agree. Anyway, any thoughts on this, Carolyn, on sight reading?
Well, actually, I think sight reading helps accompaniment because if you have very good sight reading skills, then people throw you anything, you can just do it bang on. But if you don't have the skills, and you'll be struggling just to get the piece ready. But then, I mean, back to the question, if accompaniment actually helps sight reading. If you are thinking about just reading lots and lots of music, it doesn't necessarily need to be accompaniment, but really just any music, just taking out a book, make it a habit early in the morning, just take out a book, open to whatever page, force yourself to read it. It's almost like speed reading, really, when is it reading, instead of reading words, you just read notes. So if it's something, if the question leads to something, knowing whether this will actually help improve your sight reading skills, I think it's not just bound to accompanying stuff, because sometimes depending on, there are different levels of repertoire where the accompaniment part can be so difficult, more difficult than the soloist. So depending on what kind of level you're talking about, but for me, I think, if you're thinking about, just becoming an accompanist, and if you're afraid because your sight reading is not good, then go do something about it, because that is super, super important to be a good accompanist. Yeah, that's my thoughts.
Yeah, and well, somebody now kind of follow up on that and say and ask, how does one improve one's sight reading? Is there a magic pill? Is there a magic book that you read and you become a better sight reader? Well, you can tell us a little bit about it, Carolyn, and I'll ask the rest.
Well, I have not written a book on how to improve your sight reading, but I can share with you what I did when I was young, playing, because I grew up in basically, going for exams and stuff. But what I did was, just take out whatever book. It doesn't matter whether it's whatever grade or whatever level. I would just take out a book and open to whatever page and just force myself to read it. And the thing that really kept me motivated was, I told myself, how difficult can it be? There are only 88 keys on the piano. So go for it. So I think, being brave also helps, because a lot of times, like after I started teaching, I realized that students who fumble a lot in sight reading, of course, first of all, is because they really don't have a sense of key. They don't know where they are. So they basically just try to guess every single note. But I think, being a visual learner and to be able to see patterns, and also to be able to see where there are little motifs or whatever that you can find, there are certain strategies that you can use to be able to read faster.
Okay, well, perhaps we can move on to Landy. What are your thoughts on sight reading? Well, you conduct an orchestra as well, and well, I mean, some orchestras are so well known for their fantastic sight reading, like the London orchestras. So, what sort of importance do you put on sight reading, the ability, and how would one improve it?
Okay. Well, if we talk about orchestra, of course, professional musician who plays in a professional orchestra has to have a very good sight reading, of course, and yeah, it's really takes a much shorter time for the rehearsal, which is, I mean, rehearsal for orchestra is of course money, right? I mean, yeah, we have to save the money also. Yeah, but again, back to sight reading, especially as a pianist. For me, I think playing with people will improve our sight reading ability, because we are forced to play always in time. If we just learn a new piece by ourselves, and we can just stop a little bit and take it a little slower. But then if you play with somebody, you are forced to keep the tempo. And also, actually, there are several approaches we have to take to accompanying. For example, if we do some contemporary music, I think we better just keep up to the rhythm first, because if we want to get all the notes correct for the sight reading, that's, of course, it's impossible. So, but then if we play Mozart and we just stick to the rhythm, it's also impossible. We really have to know the pattern of the harmony very well. I think that's what helped us actually to improve.
Yes, that's right. And now, talking about the term, let me ask Jessica, well, collaborative or accompaniment? I think nowadays there are more people using the term collaboration and collaborative piano rather than just accompanying or backing. What are your thoughts on that?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Now, piano accompanying is a term which has traditionally implied inferiority, working for rather than with a recital partner. The word accompanies means we are less important than the person we accompany. Now, the problem is actually with the implication of the word that accompanying means following. On the other hand, the Latin root of collaborative is with and work, collaborative, and found in equal measure here. And indeed, as collaborators, we work with others. So it's a term that implies equality, association, and teamwork. So the word collaborator is a clearer definition of the job, even without thinking of what it means for the relationship between pianist and soloist. Hence, I don't mind being called either, because when I accompany younger musicians or people just starting out on an instrument, I feel that it's just as important to serve as a musical companion to the student as it is to play the right notes. It's partly my job to help the student to get a sense of thrill that performing and music making can bring. So plus in any situation, especially right now, we all need to eat regularly and enjoy a roof over our heads. So we have to diversify. Yeah, that's right.
Yes. All right. Let me throw the question to Jennifer then. Accompanists or collaborative pianists, do you mind either of these terms? Do you mind being known as either one? Or you have no preference?
In circle, not many people call me collaborative. So actually, I'm also quite new to this term, like 2011. When I signed up for the course, I'm like, why do you call this collaborative? You know, like master. And then on my cert, it says collaborative. I'm not a accompanist. And on posters, you're known as the piano or pianist, right?
Yes.
So, and then I actually did my first recital in when I came back in the Esplanade recital. And then many people gave me feedback like, why do you want to hold a concert where you are actually highlighting your soloist? Like, you know, it's your show, so it's not like very well known in Singapore. Like a pianist will actually hold a collaborative recital. So especially when you choose, when you choose a pieces, right? Then it's more to highlight the soloist. So then people ask like, will you play a solo piece after that, like to highlight yourself?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm just thinking about a lot of posters where, yes, very generally the pianist's name tend to be a lot smaller, or sometimes the pianist's picture is not even in there. But anyway, Carolyn, what do you think about it? Is it actually an American term to begin with?
Yeah, I was about to talk, to touch on that, because I have not heard of this until I went to America, and everybody's saying like, collaborative piano and blah, blah, blah. So for me, I think regardless whether it's accompanist or collaborator or whatever you call it, the one describes the role, which is collaborating and working with another person. And the other one's just a name tag, accompanist, right? But for me, I think really, technically, if you are a good accompanist, then you are a collaborator, because working together and enjoying and making music together, that's what it is, I think. Because it is never, for me, it is never, even if you are known as an accompanist, it is never a background thing. So for me, I think that regardless whether you're accompanying a flute player or a guitar, or even like you have a whole ensemble or whatever, I think everybody plays a role, and in different parts of the music, certain instruments are highlighted. So basically, of course, if you're talking about it is a sonata for violin and piano, then it will be both equally as important. But if you're talking about a song cycle, also each song, sometimes the piano actually has more things to say, with all the word painting and stuff. So the more you study and the more you get to know all this stuff, you realize that people who just tell you, hey, you're just an accompanist, like you're not important, I think these people just deserve to sit there and just be audience, because deep down in us, we know that without us, they die. Yes. Right? So yeah. So I think that is very important to know for ourselves what our role is. It is not about what people think and what people guess we are doing. I think that's very important, to know our own role and what we can do.
That's right. All right. Oh, well, let me throw this question to Landy then. What makes a good, regardless of whether one's called an accompanist or a collaborator or collab pianist, that sounds like a dog, collab pianist. So Landy, tell the audience a little what, I'm sure you've met both types. What makes a good accompanist, a good collaborative pianist, and what makes a bad accompanist?
Okay. Well, I think, collaboration and accompanying both are important. I mean, it's if we cannot just accompany, actually, even we play a simple lead, for example, we do have to know all the harmonic progression. Because we have to shape the harmonic progression. If we just try to follow the singer, then it's actually, it's like somebody wants to how do you call that, chase people, but then try to go away, and so it doesn't really go to tell the harmony, to tell the story of the music. So yeah, it's well, I tell my student a lot, because I also teach accompanying and chamber music, that if we are an accompanist, we cannot just actually read and try to listen, but we really have to feel and sing along when we play. That's because right. Then it's just that.
Yes. So not to just react to what's happening, and right. You need to be part of the music. You need to be a musical partner and not a musical backing.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah. Now, moving on to a different subject, somebody actually asked, which is totally nothing to do with this, but let's talk a little bit about it. Does memorizing or muscle memory benefit one, or does it actually make the person more dependent? Or this is, I suppose, more generally about piano playing rather than collaborative. Any thoughts on that? Maybe Carolyn, since you've taught a lot of students at colleges and universities.
Well, I think it really boils back down to the type of learner this particular student is, because there are basically various types of learners. Some, they're very oral, so they're audio. Some are very visual. Some are also very kinesthetic, what we call the muscle memory. So for me, I think a combination of a few would be good, because when you talk about memory, sometimes you think like, okay, I'm going to learn how to play this piece and I need to memorize it for a festival or for a concert. And then, you just play it like 500 times because you think that it'll get into your fingers. And then when you put your fingers there, and then it will just move by itself. But yes, to a certain extent, because your muscle remembers it. But that's when you are very much relaxed. Now, when you're about to get on stage, you have all this adrenaline rush and everything is going like, oh my gosh, and your heart is pumping like 140 beats per minute. And that is not going to make you feel the same as you were in your living room practicing. So depending on just your muscle memory it's a little bit dangerous, I would say. So if you have a combination of, maybe oral, visual, and kinesthetic, that would help you. But just relying on muscle memory itself, for me personally, I feel that that's a little bit dangerous.
Yeah. Well, let me just throw out a question to any of you. Any one of you can answer. So does memory play much in the role of a collaborative pianist or an accompanist? I mean, some people are almost sneeringly say, well, accompanying is easier because you don't need to memorize. What are your thoughts on it? Anyone? Jennifer, maybe?
Oh, okay. So personally, I don't, but I know if it's possible, I'll try. Example, like when it comes to the page turning page, I have to memorize, of course, like the exact afterwards. I think the benefits of memorizing definitely will, your ears and everything is more open as you're more ready to go with your singer. Of course, like what Dr. Lenny has said, you have to sing along. So it's actually very good that you become into the music. It lets you free up this score reading thing. But at the same time, yeah, but like what Carolyn said, sometimes you are just nervous. So I don't, because in case I get nervous and the mind just went blank and the muscles doesn't connect afterwards, I still need a piece of paper to kind of guide me through.
Yeah, it's true. What about Jessica? What do you think about memorizing? Does it come into collaborative playing very much?
As Jennifer mentioned, during a page turn, probably you'll need to memorize before and after the page. So because I don't usually use a page turner. So yeah. So in any circumstances, I'll just miss notes.
Is there any particular reason? I mean, I'm sure we all have had a nightmare of page turners, but is there any particular reason that you don't use page turners?
I don't know. I think I'm more comfortable without one. Yeah, quite.
You don't want somebody.
Oh, maybe
somebody
staring at me. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. What about Landy? Do you use page turners?
I always try not to use them because it feels
distracting.
It's distracting. I mean, it's like I cannot move. They're he's or he or she is over there. So
yes. All of a sudden a big arm comes across your eyes.
Yes, it's true.
Turning the page. Yes, that's true. Yeah. Okay. We've got about 10, 12 minutes left. Any final thoughts? Let me just check whether there are any questions. No. So any final thoughts? Any advice you can give to somebody who is possibly thinking about becoming training as a pianist in their career? What would your advice be to the general listeners and budding musicians? Landy, you can start.
Okay. Well, I think, since our topic is about accompanying, I think it's very important to learn the chamber music and lead accompaniment. Again, we've already talked a lot about that, but it's, I think, I always hear this from my student who just graduated from their master abroad in Europe or the States, that it's actually much more fun to play chamber music or play a lead than just doing solo recital, because then you have to wait for you have to play in this on stage 1.5 hours. That's tough. but if you play chamber music, you share the excitement with somebody else, and it's much more fun, I think.
Yes, I mean that's the joy of making music with others that solo music doesn't give you. What about? Oh, actually, there is just one rather funny question coming in. And well, whoever who has the experience of it, hands up, and you can tell us about it. What do I do if the person I'm accompanying has a terrible rhythm, or in some situation where a vocalist starts singing in their own key? Hands up who has had this sort of experience. I think I need to put 2 hands up. Anybody else? everybody has it. Okay, Carolyn, put 2 hands up. All right, tell us about your experience, Carolyn.
Well, I must say that singers are very creative. Sometimes they come in with their own keys. So there was once I was accompanying a singer, and I don't know, for some reason, it was like an intro. You know, usually you have an introduction. So if you have an introduction, there's no way you can go wrong, okay? Because you already have the key. And suddenly she's like going in like almost like a tone higher. I'm like, oh, and then it just kept going, and I'm like, I can't do this. And I tried to transpose, you know, so it doesn't work. And then I'm like, okay, wait, we need to stop. And then she didn't even realize that what happened. So then, well, basically, I think if you have somebody of that caliber, okay, it's very difficult. I must tell you, it's very difficult to be able to sing. You should try to play an accompaniment part and sing in a different key. Of course, in pitch, okay? Yeah, but first of all, I would say that if you're working with someone like this, usually probably because they're still students and they want to do for exams and stuff. So give them a note. So basically, you know, when you're doing an introduction, if perfect pitch, that's why they're everywhere. So what happens is, you know, point out the certain note that they can relate to. So basically giving them a relative pitch to tell them like, okay, so this will be your do. And then if you're coming in on so, that's your so, okay? So let's try that again. So basically, I think giving them a landmark note, that helps. And as with rhythm, sorry, I think you need to tell them to go back to theory and ta-ta-ti-ti, ta-ta-ti. Because yeah, with the wrong rhythm, it's almost impossible to work with more advanced repertoire. But another experience that I was a page turner for Bryn Terfel. He came to Dewan Philharmonic Petronas a couple of years ago. So suddenly they asked like, you know, because I wanted to get the tickets to his concert, but it was all sold out. So I was like so upset. And I had a friend who works in there. So she's like, hey, you know what? They're looking for a page turner. Do you want to turn? I'm like, yes, sure. And so you get to watch the concert live. So, okay, so I went in to turn the page for his pianist. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. So I was like, are we going to have a rehearsal? Let's do a rehearsal. I can be at the rehearsal. And they were like, Bryn says it's okay. We don't need a rehearsal. So I was in the back, half an hour before the concert. The pianist just looked at me. I forgot his name. It's bad, but he's really good. So he just showed me, okay, these are the scores that we'll be playing. This is the first half only. I'm like, huh? And then this is the second half. So when it went up, he was not reading. So the first one went on. Okay, so I could read, turn. And the next thing I saw, it was like, okay, this is a whole full score. So he was reading from a full score. Still okay, because like, okay, I can see, I can follow. And then the next thing he came up with, I'm like, I don't even know what language it was, okay? So I was like, okay, never mind, just listen to the pitches. And when he started, oh my gosh, it was in a total different key. So I was reading the notes and listening, everything was just off. And so you know what happened? I had to rely on the rhythm. So when I was looking at the rhythm and the pitch, and I didn't understand a single character, it was not, I don't know, I think it was Welsh. Or I don't know what language it was. And I just held the page like this. Do I turn or do I not turn? So I just turned, very confidently turned. And that was the last piece before intermission, I remember very clearly. And after they took a bow and they went in, and the accompanist told me, you are the best page turner in the world. So, and I said, I almost had a heart attack because I couldn't fall back on the lyrics. I couldn't fall back onto the notes, and the rhythm was just everywhere. So, just a lesson that I learned. If you really want a page turn for these professionals, please look at their scores because it's pretty scary.
Yeah. Anyway,
yeah.
Yes, Landy also has 2 hands up. So tell us a little bit about your experience. Was it rhythm or was it pitch or was it both, Landy?
Well, it's kind of a long time ago. I kind of forget, but yeah, it's all. I mean, I've experienced with especially with students, and yeah, then Yeah, well, yeah, and also I just actually accompany a student who actually probably has a very bad with pitch. She played a violin, and then it was really sudden. There's no rehearsal, and it turned out that our edition is different, and she plays with very untuned notes. And then she jumped there. I was trying to find out which notes she's playing. It's really hard.
Yeah, it was very creative and approximate in pitch. What about Jennifer and Jessica? Jennifer, have you had experiences like that? Vocalists going completely off key or coming in the wrong beat?
Yeah, usually I would just be nice lah. I don't try to embarrass them, but I keep breathing like deep and then keep looking at them and then subtly play their notes. Or if not, I'll try and jump in.
So does it work? Do they notice the little cues or the angry look that you give them?
Because we rehearse that.
Oh, so in rehearsals you do talk about what happens when accident occurs.
Yeah, because I suppose if it happens during the stage, it does happen during rehearsals that we already know, unless it's like last minute. So we always plan beforehand. I do tell them in case, that I will do this, I will breathe, especially for the younger kids. Then they actually pick it up. They actually are, quite observant.
Yeah, so that's another lesson for companies out there or collaborative pianists out there. You do have to be a good strategist and think about what might happen or what accidents may happen. What about Jessica? Have you had to accompany train wrecks like this?
Because I work with mainly instrumentalists, so yeah, I do have a lot of terrible experiences. Yeah, especially on stage, anything can happen. So you just keep an eye on their part. So prepare to jump anytime. If they jump 2 beats, you jump with them,
Yeah,
Or
so
after
Titanic style. You jump, I jump.
Yeah, that's right. You jump, I jump. I always tell them because they are already very nervous on stage. Sometimes they may miss a beat or two. Or maybe come in a bit earlier. I'll totally understand them because my role is very supportive. So I try to make the experience on stage a good experience for them. Yeah. So I don't get angry at all. Yeah. As long as they play their part well.
Yes, but do you get nervous for them?
Not really. Except when you're playing the Shostakovich cello concerto.
Well, but then hopefully nobody will know because it's full of dissonances anyway. Yeah. So all right.
Always get pumping. It's more exciting than the roller coaster ride.
Oh yes. The adrenaline surge is nothing. There's nothing else like it. All right, we've just got 2 minutes left now. Can I just ask you to just give your last words in less than 20 seconds each? Well, just start with you, Jessica. Any message to the listeners?
Okay, so in a nutshell, collaboration is not merely rhythmic synchronization, vertical alignment, along with the care not to play too loudly. Most importantly, it demands our physical understanding of how our partners feel, his emotional and physical needs, and finally, of course, our own needs as well.
Great. And Jennifer?
Okay, so all in all, it's a lot of discipline, it's a lot of work, it's a lot of patience, a lot of courage to step up and to meet people, talk to people who are like older sometimes than you.
You mean like us? Okay, no offense taken.
But it's good to learn from each other. I love it. So if you love to collaborate, keep it up and keep going.
Great. And Carolyn?
Well, for me, I think keep the music going, but most importantly, don't forget to enjoy yourself. I think that's the ultimate thing for music. You can play so well, but when you step off the stage and you feel like, oh my gosh, I could have done better. Everybody feels that way. So, tell yourself at that moment that was your best. Okay, be happy with it and continue to make music.
Yeah. And then lastly, from Landy, self-professed the wisest and the oldest and the wisest.
Well, first of all, is don't hesitate to accompany or to play with people, because that's really important, and it's actually give us lots of what do you call that, experience and learning. Learning is not only from the school, you know. I mean, after 25 years finished school, I think I get much more than when I was at the school. Really, I mean, so do play with people. It's very important.
Yeah. Okay. Well, with that, the forum has come to an end. We hope the listeners have enjoyed it, and it's certainly been a pleasure talking to all of you and meeting some old friends, some new friends, my wife. Yeah, let me just say good evening to everybody, and thank you for listening. And I hope you enjoy the rest of the festival. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.